Today was a familiar story.
And the Jets are still scoreless in the first quarter this year.
The Jets' slow start was only eclipsed by a bigger story.
Zach Wilson is still down on the ground.
Oh, wow.
Are the Jets' issues in their design or execution?
And it's a 50-burger for the Patriots on the Jets.
Either way, the Jets have a lot to answer for. This is Jets Late Night. Tell you what, this was a dreadful day for the Jets, both on the scoreboard and the injury report. Welcome to Jets Late Night. Steve Overmyer here alongside 7-year NFL vet and former Jets outside linebacker and current CBS Sports analyst Josh Martin. Josh, after losses like this, what's the first thing the team needs to do?
The first thing the team's going to need to do is review the film, right? And there's a saying in film rooms, it's never as good as it seems and it's never as bad as it seems. I think, unfortunately, in this case, it might be as bad as it seems. But there's two key takeaways, I think, when I watch this game. One, Zach Wilson, scary injury, but he walked off under his own power.
Yes.
And two, they have a young team, so you always have the future to look forward to when you have a young team.
Well, and that Zach Wilson injury is clearly the story of the week for the Jets. So let's show you what happened in this one, because the O-line has done a really good job of keeping their quarterback upright. After taking 15 sacks through the first 3 weeks of the season, they've reduced that number to just 4. Win or lose, New York's underlying mission this season is to develop the franchise quarterback, and possibly losing that initiative after Wilson gets drilled twice in 3 plays. The Jets are optimistic it's a PCL tear, which is less severe than an MCL. However, they won't know the actual severity until tomorrow's MRI.
Obviously, you run through your mind just like, praying that it's not the worst case scenario, having a knee injury. And at first it wasn't necessarily like a painful thing. I felt a pop, I felt a twist. So you kind of know when it's different than just, getting some sort of bruise or getting landed on or whatever. It was sore. I didn't feel like I could move it at first. That was kind of why I laid there, tried to just get my thoughts together and, kind of figure out what was going on. And, even now, still trying to figure out how we can make it better.
All right, so let's show you what happened in this game. The Jets trying to snap an 11-game losing streak to the Patriots. We're still a week away from Halloween, but the Pats were playing tricks and treat to start the game. New England dials up a double pass on the opening drive. Just like that, it's 7-0. The Jets had 2 weeks to prepare for New England. Usually you see a bump in performance from teams coming off the bye week, but the Jets came out flat. New England races out to a 14-0 lead before Zach Wilson even attempted a pass. We already told you about his knee injury, but adding insult to injury, the Jets get throttled by New England. Mac Jones was the last of the 5 quarterbacks taken in the draft, but he leads all rookies in passing yards, touchdowns, completion percentage. They were down 31-7 at the half, and the assault continued in the second half. The Jets came into the week with one of the best red zone defenses in the NFL, but they stood idle. The Pats go 6 for 6 in the red zone. The Jets drop to 1-5 with the loss, the most points they've allowed in 4 decades.
Top down. Starts with coaching all the way down. Obviously, we got to be better. They punched us in the freaking mouth and scored points, so credit to them. But that's it. I mean, it's just I've been a part of some of those in my life that they don't feel good.
At the end of the day, getting punched in the mouth like that, never a good feeling. It's not something, we want to experience again. It's not something we're proud of. But at the end of the day, we got to own that.
Tough. I mean, you never expect to give up that many points, especially as a defense. Just being one of the leaders out there, you just got to find a way to rally the guys and put out the fire. We couldn't find a way to do that today.
Okay, so let's start things off with Wilson, because everybody is certainly crossing their fingers that this is not worst case scenario, but he'll likely miss some time. So how big of a setback is this in the development of a rookie quarterback?
Well, when it comes to development for any young player, there's no substitution for game experience.
You need the reps.
You need the reps, and I think when your key figure, your franchise quarterback, is out of the game for who knows how long, it also sets your offense back. Because when you talk about chemistry between the quarterback, your wide receivers, the cadence of the calls, all that goes into play in this.
a quarterback needs to learn how to protect himself as well. And I know that Wilson does such a great job on those scramble plays, those off schedule plays. But when you see a quarterback, you're a linebacker, you see a quarterback rolling outside of the pocket and you got a beat on him, you have to be licking your chops.
I'm licking my chops, and football is a violent game. I have bad intentions when I see a quarterback outside of the pocket. We're going to keep it real. If I see a quarterback, I want to make sure that he knows that it's unacceptable for him to do anything outside of what he's supposed to do, which is stay in the pocket, especially when you have mobile quarterbacks. You want to deter them from using their legs.
So does he need to protect himself better?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the first thing he needs to do, and I think the first thing he needs to learn. Unfortunately, a lot of times it takes learning it the hard way, and hopefully he learns from this.
Okay, so now we did see a couple of plays where the NFL has certainly made a push to try to protect the quarterbacks, the hits to the head, falling with your body weight on the quarterback, and hits below the knee. But he took hits below the knee twice in the same series. Were you surprised that flags weren't thrown on that?
That's tough, right? Because I think it's forcible contact below the knee. I don't know if the hits met that criteria, but at the end of the day, the flag always comes after the hit. So it's always on Zach, the ball carrier, to protect himself in those situations.
Right. The result of the play doesn't, it doesn't matter whether or not he gets a flag or not. He still gets hit. So it's up to him to kind of help himself out a little bit. We knew that the offense struggled, and that was certainly expected. But the defense gave up 54 points. And this was coming off of a bye week. Are you seeing this more of a game plan issue or an execution issue?
At the end of the day, coaches coach and players play. It's an execution issue in my
You have to take that on as a player, right?
Yeah, you have to take it on as a player, right? I have my job. I have to beat my one-on-one matchup. If I don't do that and enough players don't do that, then you have the 50-piece.
Tough to look at. And another thing that was tough to look at is, it's never good when a defensive back leads the team in tackles. But this week, safety Ashton Davis led the Jets with 10 tackles. Here he is after the game with Otis Livingston.
All right, Ashton, you guys are coming off the bye week. A lot of your fans are wondering, what did you do during the bye week to have such a result like this? Because that's supposed to be batteries recharged and changing game plans and figuring out what went wrong in the first part of the season.
During the bye week, I was trying to take a deep dive into my game and just figure out what I can do better. And, I just think we didn't execute today.
You had 10 tackles today, which is not always a great thing for a defense when the guys up front and the linebackers are not making the majority of the tackles. What was going on? Because they were able to throw for over 400 yards and rush for almost 150.
As far as the tackles go, I'm just trying to make the plays that come to me. I can't really speak to the other stuff. We got a lot to clean up, obviously. Anytime you get a result like that, not one you're happy with. So we got another opportunity next week, and we'll get it figured out.
Unfortunately, we also saw some of the defensive linemen get into a heated discussion with some of the other defensive players. How frustrating is it to go out there and to have the results that you guys have, especially knowing that you guys are putting in the work during the week to have better results?
We're all competitive. Everyone on our team wants to win, and I still would ride with any of my guys. I wouldn't pick anyone else to ride with, and we never want the result to happen today. Try to figure it out and make sure we're executing next week.
Hey, clearly, nobody was happy here. Coach Sala was not happy. In fact, he said some words that can't be said on broadcast television, but we will hear from the coach when we come back. This is Jets Late Night.
First, you worry about your friend out there on the ground, so worrying about his well-being and how he was faring, and then you kind of realize, all right, now it's my shot to go in there and help execute the offense. And I told myself not to go do anything out of the ordinary, just play within the system, complete the balls, get the balls to our playmakers, and kind of go from there.
And welcome back to Jets Late Night. You know, one of the attributes that was a big selling point for Coach Robert Saleh is the fact that he is a motivator. This is a week where that will be tested. In his post-game press conference, here's how he responded when he was asked for his next motivational tactic.
If you need somebody, and it's just my opinion, to be in your butt, yelling at you to get going, playing a child's game at a King's Ransom, then you don't deserve to wear the logo, period. And I know we got great character guys. I know they were playing their butts off. It's just every once in a while you get your, excuse my language, you get your teeth knocked in.
I guess that's the nice way to say it. There's no way to soft pedal that. It really is on the players to make the difference.
It's on the players to make the difference, and Coach made a great point. You're playing a game for a lot of money. You know, that should be all the motivation you need to get the job done.
Yeah, without a doubt. Or you won't be playing for any money. The Jets will be missing middle linebacker, or at least miss middle linebacker C.J. Mosley this week, and his absence stung the linebacking core. Here's how Coach responded when asked about the impact of Mosley's injury.
CJ's an all-pro player. Did it hurt? Obviously, yeah. Should it have hurt this bad? No. But missing his presence, not having CJ out there, obviously it hurt, but it shouldn't have hurt this bad.
Okay, let me go through some stats here because the Patriots clearly made an attempt to attack the Jets second level through the air. The linebackers gave up more than 100 yards through the air, and the average point of impact on run plays was 4 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. What is that telling you?
That means that the Jets weren't very good against the run.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're making contact at 4 yards, that's not including yards after contact, which is even more, you know.
So they seem to be playing off a little bit too much.
They're playing off a little bit too much, but more than that, they're not playing aggressive downhill football when they know they're being attacked on the inside run.
All right, the Jets defense ended up giving up 550 yards, 32 first downs. The Patriots scored on 9 of 10 possessions. This was Saleh's response when asked about the defensive issues.
You always want to look at, one, structurally, were we okay? Were there mistakes? Was it structurally where no matter what we did based on that call, were we going to be in the situation we were in, or was it a matter of just execute? So once we get to the film room and study all that, just check it. I don't want to give you wholesale changes when structurally I think we're okay. I think the guys were, for the most part, were executing, but all it takes is one. And so we'll get a good idea after film study.
Does this have a lot to do with the fact that this is a young defense, that maybe their over-aggression could get the better of them?
Absolutely. It's a young defense, and we'll see later that, you know, when you're young, you don't necessarily have all the tools in your kit to make the necessary pre-snap adjustments, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Is that why they seem to be a little bit more susceptible to misdirections and screen passes, because they jump that first read?
Yeah, you know, when you're a young player, the first thing you have to overcome, or the first thing you have to learn, is good eye discipline, good patience.
And that is something that will be learned as the season continues. All right, stick around. We're back to hear from the beat reporters and their thoughts on how this team will get motivated moving forward. You're watching Jets Late Night.
saw what you needed to see from Robert Saleh after the game, which was he wasn't happy. He was angry. This normally upbeat coach was swearing. He did it twice in the press conference, and I don't think you saw enough of that from the players. I think these guys, maybe they were a little shocked after the way they were beaten, but there wasn't enough fire there, and I think you need to see that next week against Cincinnati. This is going to tell us more about the players than it tells us about anybody else.
Eventually, these players need to look in the mirror and not be okay with the fact that they just lost a football game 54-13. And you know, when you get embarrassed like that, when you get beat up like that, usually you expect to see anger after the game. You expect to see players kind of in that frustration, seeing that boil over a little bit because of the way that they were embarrassed on the field. That wasn't the case against the Jets. Sheldon Rankins was fine. Morgan Moses was fine. Marcus May was fine. And that struck me as a little bit alarming. So I don't think this is really about Robert Saleh. I don't think this is about Robert Saleh's message. I don't think this is about him motivating players. I think this is about players finding ways to motivate themselves and just not be okay with the type of efforts they've been putting on the field.
I mean, that's a great point. It is incumbent upon the players to motivate themselves. However, you know, Coach Saleh was brought in because he was a motivator. That was one of his key attributes. So give me maybe what was the best motivational tactic that a coach has pulled out of his bag of tricks while you were playing.
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on the coach. When I was with the Jets, I played for Coach Todd Bowles. He was a very soft-spoken, calm, he was a quieter demeanor. It wasn't as loud and boisterous as some coaches can be. So whenever he did become loud, boisterous, he voiced his frustration or disappointment with the team in I don't want to say violent, but he was very suggestive with his language and temperament.
Well, it meant something more, too, because he was always quiet,
Exactly. So when they flip the switch, you know something's up, and it's probably time to kick it into gear.
Does that mean that it's really on the captains in that locker room to push the younger players that might be inexperienced and to help them understand that you can't keep making these kind of mistakes?
No, team leadership is everything. When you have veteran players like Marcus May, C.J. Mosley, those are the guys that need to take it upon themselves to ensure that the younger, less experienced players are, coming up. They're getting better. They're taking this seriously, and they're, getting better each and every day.
We all make mistakes. It's about how do you respond to those mistakes, and can you get better because of them? We're back to hear more from the players when Jets Late Night comes back.
Welcome back to Jets Late Night. I'm Otis Livingston. After the Jets' 54-13 loss to the New England Patriots, I'm joined by Jets running back Ty Johnson. And Ty, there was so much talk before the break about fixing the slow starts. Again today, you guys have not scored in the first quarter all season long. What was the problem with the slow start again today?
I believe we had a lot of plays, like we were going faster, in the past. We weren't getting many plays in the first quarter and everything, but we had the plays, we just got to finish in the red zone.
How much concern do you guys have for your quarterback right now? We saw Zach went down in the ball game, and if he's down for any amount of time, how much confidence do you have in Mike White?
He came in there, didn't flinch, did his job. You know, he was getting the ball out quick, so I have 110% belief in him. That's my guy, you know what I'm saying? I love him to death, so we don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I couldn't even tell you with Zach, but always keep high hopes for him. But when it comes to Mike White, I mean, he's a gunslinger, man. You know, he's going to get the job done, so I believe in him.
What is your message to Jet fans who were hoping for a better effort, maybe even a victory coming out of the bye, and then to have a game like this come out?
Just have faith in it, man. You know, people say, you know, what is faith? And that's believing that something's going to happen even though you don't see the results. You feel me? I know it's frustrating for Jets fans, and it's frustrating for players, of course. We put in the work every single day. Like, you know, that's not the outcome we want. But at the end of the day, you know, having faith and believing that it's going to happen.
I feel you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for your time today.
Yes, sir.
All right, please stay tuned for more Jets Late Night coming up after the break. And welcome back. This is my favorite segment because I get to learn a little football from someone who played. Josh Martin, it seems like every season, every game, the Jets tend to get burned by a screen pass. So take us through this Bolden touchdown and how the Jets should have played this screen.
Yeah, so we have 11 personnel with a split back set. And the first thing that I see is the difference in the depth of the backs.
This guy's above the line, this guy's behind it.
And the other thing to note is that the left back is actually a wide receiver, which is why Javelin Guidry is in the box in this situation. And that comes into play because what we'll see as the play rolls, if you run the play, we get in a situation where Guidry and Marcus May are in this position where they're basically crossing paths.
Right.
Whereas with the pre-snap read, the different depths of the back indicate that there's going to be a cross action in the split back set. Marcus May could have communicated that with Javelin Guidry to make his job a lot easier to prevent him from having to chase down the play all the way across the field. And it could have, you know, reasonably prevented the touchdown.
I mean, so that play almost was determined then pre-snap, where they lined up, how they, you know, changed the Jets' defensive scheme, and the fact that they knew that they were in man coverage forced the Jets into a bad personnel spot. And by the way, you saw those guys rubbing Marcus May. He almost got caught up in the wash.
Oh, no, I mean, that was definitely schemed. They knew that they didn't make this adjustment. Cornerbacks and safeties aren't used to making those calls. If those are two inside linebackers, I guarantee this play would have turned out differently.
So they were preying on the inexperience of the Jets defense and the fact that those guys were literally playing out of position.
I mean, essentially, absolutely.
Well, and that is a problem that, look, there's problems that they've had to face this entire year, and that's a problem that they're going to have to correct moving forward, even if it is one of the fastest players in the NFL, and Javelin Guidry playing in the box. All right, well, next week, we're going to find out if they've improved on this, because next week they're going to get a man who threw for 400 yards this week as they welcome Joe Burrow and the Bengals to town. Until then, for Josh Martin and Otis Livingston, I'm Steve Overmyer. Thanks for watching Jets Late Night.